the jet ready, Pelvis. I've got to be going.
Hey you guys, what is up? It is your boy Blaze here, coming at you once again from Need Input. So check it out everybody. If you saw my previous video, I discussed the deliberate food and supply shortage and how all this stuff supposedly going on in the Ukraine is just staged and part of the World Economic Forum's Great Reset plans to cause mass inflation and shortages of the food worldwide. And I found it interesting that Boris Johnson, Nancy Pelosi, and the UN Secretary General all flew to the Ukraine to meet Zelensky and walked around Kyiv casually as if nothing is even going on, and how it's all tied back to the World Economic Forum. Well, get this. Now we have Jill Biden and Justin Trudeau who have just flown there. And of course, we know Biden is a puppet of the WEF, and Justin Trudeau was a young member of the WEF and groomed by Klaus Schwab himself.
And I have to say, when I mention now names like Mrs. Merkel, even Vladimir Putin and so on, they all have been young global leaders of the World Economic Forum. Mm-hmm. But what we are very proud of now, the young generation, like Prime Minister Trudeau, President of Argentina and so on, that we penetrate the cabinets. So yesterday I was at a reception for Prime Minister Trudeau, and I know that half of this cabinet, or even more half of this cabinet, are actually young global leaders of the World Economic Forum.
And that's true in Argentina too. Wow.
Yeah.
Sorry. That's true in Argentina as well.
It's true in Argentina, and it's true in France now. Mm-hmm. I'm with the president, who is a young global leader. But what is important for me?
We mentioned earlier that the First Lady of the United States, Jill Biden, had visited unannounced Ukraine today. We now have some pictures of that. You can see here these pictures just released of the First Lady Jill Biden with her counterpart, her Ukrainian counterpart, Olesa Zelenska, meeting with some kids there at a school in Uzhhorod. That's a town near the Slovakian border, and that meeting has taken place earlier today, which is Mother's Day, of course, in the US. Mother's Day, in fact, in large parts of the world, just not in the UK.
Begin this Sunday with a surprise visit from the Prime Minister, Justin Trudeau, right now in Kyiv to meet with the Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky and to reopen Canada's embassy in that country. Trudeau also seeing the destruction firsthand when he visited the suburb of Irpin.
Right, so they just showed up unannounced to a country that is currently a war zone being attacked by Russia. Surprise! Yeah, that makes perfect sense. No, it truly doesn't. Unannounced, so the Ukrainian military just allowed their aircraft to fly over their airspace and land there? Get the heck real. Let's be honest here. The Ukraine knew they were coming. If this was a real war and they showed up unannounced flying over the Ukrainian airspace, the military would have shot their planes down. Now, apparently Jill was sent because if they would have sent Biden, he would have walked around sniffing all the Ukrainian children there. And I'm surprised dumbass Trudeau didn't show up black-faced or wearing traditional Ukrainian clothing to make a fool of himself some more. Oh, and get this, you can't make this kind of stuff up. The band U2 just flew there and held a concert in Kyiv subway station. That's right, the band U2 with Bono flew there to the Ukraine and held a concert in a Kyiv subway station. Then after the concert, they walked around Kyiv with tons of people and media all around them as they signed autographs.
Should I wait for you?
can't ever really have a sense of what these people have been through, no real sense, though it's stark. I think it would almost be insulting to the people around here to try and sum it up in words. You know, I'm not sure words can fully express what they've been through. I try with music. The story I wanted to tell today really is that the world needs to hear, which is...
And of course, guess what? Bono is a big World Economic Forum supporter. Here he is with his buddy Klaus Schwab. What a coincidence, right?
I want people to know that I'm worth something, that I matter.
Just 9 days ago, the media claimed Russia fired missiles into Kyiv. And just today, they are saying Russia just bombed a school and 60 people died. Every day we are shown nonstop propaganda videos of mass destruction in the Ukraine and told that Russia continues to constantly attack. Billions of American tax dollars in American advanced weapons given to the Ukraine for support, and other countries doing the same. And yet, despite all this, it seems perfectly safe and now normal for world leaders to fly there and walk around the city with Zelensky casually as if nothing's going on. And also for bands to visit and perform concerts in front of people there, and then after the concerts, go out in the streets with the public and the media following them signing autographs. Does anybody else question this and not find this very strange? I mean, come on. Supposedly it's so bad there that countries are taking refugees from the Ukraine, but we're to believe this? And this guy right here who sung with Bono a little bit, apparently his name is Taras Topolia, and he's in a band in the Ukraine called Antitila, and he just had to throw up that 666 hand symbol a couple of times and make sure the media took photos of it. You know, if I was Putin, I'd attack and capture these leaders while they are visiting there and hold them all hostage, demanding to nations that they back off and stop aiding the Ukraine so my country can take it over, or these leaders will be executed. Because that's what happens in a real war. But nah, that don't happen, because this is all staged and fake. And by the way, airspace is supposed to be closed right now over the Ukraine due to the fact that they are supposedly in a war. And back in 2014, the Russian military supposedly shot down a Malaysian Airlines Boeing 777 over the eastern part of Ukraine. So how is it these world leaders and you too can even fly there? So what's next? Will Oprah be flown there to interview Zelensky and walk around the Kyiv streets interviewing all the Ukrainian people? It wouldn't surprise me one bit. And not one single person would stop and use a little bit of common sense and some critical thinking and say, hey, wait a second. They're in the middle of a war. Why are they flying into a war zone? This doesn't make any sense whatsoever. Instead, they just talk of how amazing and brave these people are and how great it truly is. I'm truly surprised they haven't even used Greta yet, giving speeches about how Russia is causing pollution during this war and saying, how dare you, to Putin, then sending her off to the Ukraine to rally up Ukrainian teens to protest against Russia, stating that Russia is causing climate change to become rapidly worse by polluting the environment in the Ukraine.
How dare you!